Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Tuesdays wherever across this great country or this great land you may be. This is called Outkick the Show. It will start with the Clemson Tigers visiting the White House and setting off the national media into an uproar, right? Over what is crazy. Donald Trump bought hamburgers. Now, admittedly, I am a child steeped on fast food. Both of my parents worked almost every day. My mom would pick up fast food for us. Was it healthy? No. Was it really, really tasty? Yes. All right? And so I have spent a lot of time sampling McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Arby's, Chick-fil-A. You name a Zaxby's, you name a fast food restaurant, and I am well acquainted with their wares. I try not to eat fast food as much as I used to, but do you know what I ate last night? Zaxby's. Do you know what's incredible? Zaxby's. Do you know what I wish I could hook up to a monitor and feed directly into my veins? Zaxby sauce. Zaxby sauce may be the greatest sauce ever created in the history of mankind. The only comparison for it right now is ranch. If you don't like ranch, I don't like you. All you have to do is put ranch on everything, and it is phenomenal. So, when I was 18 years old, do you know what I liked? I liked hamburgers. Do you know what I still like now? Hamburgers. And so back in the day, when I was 18 years old in college in Washington, D.C., if I had gotten to visit the White House and I had walked into the White House and they had a full spread of fast food and I could eat as much of it as I wanted to, do you know what I would have thought? This is awesome. Do you know what most Clemson football players thought? This is awesome. If you have ever been 18 years old and middle class or lower middle class and you ate a ton of fast food everywhere you went, which is where I was raised, then you would have been like, oh my God, this is heaven. I can't believe I'm visiting the White House and they've got Big Macs and they got Whoppers and they got singles with cheese here. And the only thing I would really criticize, there's no reason for the Filet-O-Fish to still exist. I'll give you a reason in a minute why it should not exist. And also, there should have been Chick-fil-A there. In fact, if it was President Travis there welcoming Clemson, I would have filled up the whole room with Chick-fil-A. Waffle fries, chicken tenders, chicken sandwiches. It would have been filled floor to ceiling with Chick-fil-A. In fact, one of the good things about being rich is I can go in Chick-fil-A now and order as much Chick-fil-A as I want, and it's almost impossible for me to go bankrupt while doing it. That's a good thing about being rich. One of the other good things about being rich, you don't have to look at the price on menus anymore. But you know what? I wasn't always rich. I used to look at the price all the time, and for most of my life, I never ordered the most expensive thing on the menu. I would never even dream of even thinking about ordering the most expensive thing on the menu, all right? So, this to me is a ridiculous story. The fact that anyone is upset or triggered over Clemson visiting the White House and getting to eat hamburgers is evidence of how out of touch much of the national media is, all right? This is a huge win if you are a typical college kid in America. It's an even huger win if you are a football player who gets to eat anything that he wants in the White House, all right? The fact that this turned into a controversy is, to me, emblematic of a larger scale issue that we have, which is it doesn't matter what Donald Trump does, there is immediate criticism of it, right? If Trump had decided that he was going to have everybody at Clemson eat steaks, the first response would have been, oh my God, Donald Trump is like Marie Antoinette, the shutdown of the government's going on, and he's having the football team in, and they are eating steak. Look at how Donald Trump is treating everybody, even while those federal workers are not making any money. He's not allowing them to, he's allowing them to eat steak while everybody else is starving. So he literally goes out and buys the most affordable mass-produced food that exists in America, fast food. He says, everybody eat of it as much as you like. And you know what those guys did? They cheered when they saw the food. Do you think they would have cheered if they had walked in and there'd been a pasta salad and a bunch of frou-frou, like I don't know, canopies, or I don't like food. If there had been a bunch, I got to be honest, I eat this all the time now because I'm rich. But if you'd walked in and there'd been a bunch of Brussels sprouts in oil, do you think the Clemson football team would have been like, yes, I've been dreaming of visiting the White House my whole life so we can get the latest flavor Brussels sprout? Brussels sprouts, by the way, everywhere for rich people. Rich people love Brussels sprouts more than anything in the world right now. Everywhere you go, if it's an expensive restaurant, there are Brussels sprouts on the menu, braised in some sort of sauce. They're actually really good. As a rich guy, I have to tell you, but Brussels sprouts have become the most elite food imaginable to man, right? It is unbelievable how much Brussels sprouts there are. When I was a kid, Brussels sprouts were like the 4 billionth most popular thing you could eat for rich people. Now Brussels sprouts is #1 food that rich people eat, all right? It's crazy. I can't believe it. And Brussels sprouts with truffle oil on top is like the richest of the rich food, all right? Here is the truth. Donald Trump did nothing wrong. I'm thankful that at least Clemson visited the White House and we didn't have to go through the usual trope of whether or not the team was going to visit the White House or not. My only criticism, the Filet-O-Fish needs to be ended. I went to Vancouver and Seattle on a vacation a couple of years ago. Whole family. We flew into Seattle because my primary rule with my family is I will go anywhere as long as we don't have to change planes. You talk to my wife, I swear to God, she'll be like, where do you want to go on vacation this year? My answer is always anywhere as long as we don't have to change planes. Because if you are a parent, you know what happens if you get on an airplane and you travel somewhere where you have to change planes? You get stuck there with your kids in the airport and you can't find enough chargers and their iPads start to die and it's basically hell on earth. So I will get on, and if the plane doesn't take off, that's the issue of the plane. I can go back home. I will get on any plane that lands in the place where it's taking off to go. So we wanted to go to Vancouver. We started in Seattle. When we landed, it was a little bit optimistic. I said, you know what? We're going to go straight to Vancouver. Didn't look very far on the map. Turned into the Trail of Tears. My family's lucky to be alive. All right? I don't know exactly what it was like to be on the Trail of Tears with the Cherokees in the 1800s. It was very similar, in my opinion, to my drive from Seattle to Vancouver in a rental car where you had to cross the Canadian border, and it took forever, all right? In the middle of nowhere, upstate Washington. Everybody's getting hungry because it's taking longer on the trip than we thought. Out of nowhere emerges a Denny's. We pull into the Denny's. Do you know what I did? I made one of the greatest mistakes of my life. I ordered salmon at the Denny's. I don't know why I ordered salmon at the Denny's. I think I was sitting there, it was afternoon, and I was thinking, hey, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. Maybe they have good salmon at this Denny's. No one should ever order salmon at the Denny's, all right? Spoiler alert. Similarly, it was a disaster. I was sick in the car. It was the worst ordering decision I ever made, and I blamed Denny's like a good liberal left-winger who doesn't take responsibility for any of his own decisions. I blamed Denny's for having salmon on the menu and tempting me into thinking, you know what I should do? I should order salmon at the Denny's, all right? So I make the decision to go order the salmon at the Denny's, and you know what happens? I get sick, and I get sick from the fucking salmon at the Denny's, and that is why McDonald's shouldn't have Filet-O-Fish either, because you shouldn't trust any man or woman who walks into a McDonald's and thinks, you know what I want? I want to go out and order a Filet-O-Fish inside of the McDonald's. All right? The only thing I question about Donald Trump's order for the Clemson football team was the fact that he ordered a bunch of Filet-O-Fish. If you question how crazy the media has gone, the Washington Post did a full-page analysis of the order from fast food restaurants. Now, if you listen to my radio show, and I'm curious how many of you listen to Outkick, my morning radio show, either live or on podcast, all right? Filet-O-Fish should not be allowed to be ordered by anybody, all right? If you heard me on the show this morning, my question is this. A lot of people out there think about ways to protect and solve problems that have already existed. One of the things that I regularly do is I think about things that haven't happened yet and think about how to avoid them happening. For instance, I haven't heard anybody. The most interesting thing to me about the Clemson players visiting the White House and the order of the food, the most interesting thing that I have thought about is this. Does anybody vet the food that comes into the White House? What if a terrorist got a hold of all those hamburgers and wiped out the whole Clemson football team and a big part of the executive staff as well by poisoning all of the hamburgers? To me, and I'm not even kidding about this, to me, this is a major flaw in White House security. You have to go through all these things in order to get into the White House to make sure that nobody harms anybody. But if you're working in the West Wing, you can go out there and order a hamburger or order a pizza, and it comes right to the White House. You walk it out, and you bring it back in. What if there had been anthrax on every one of those hamburgers? What if somebody had covered it in hemlock? What if Donald Trump had died along with the entire Clemson team because they ate hamburgers that came in that nobody vetted to make sure they were safe? Now, your boy here wouldn't be surprised. This video would skyrocket. The Secret Service would show up at my house and they would be like, Clay Travis, why were you thinking already about the idea that the hamburgers might have been poisoned? And I would say, because that's how my mind works. I don't just think about bad things that have already happened. I think about bad things that might happen in the future. I'll give you an example. Some of you may remember this. When I went out and did the Super Bowl last year, after the Super Bowl was over, I said, this is one of the stupidest decisions I've ever seen. We did Radio Row from the Mall of America in Minneapolis, the biggest shopping mall in America, from a damn food court that anybody could walk into. 1,000 media members live on the radio, live on television, all sitting there like sitting ducks. Any one person who was a terrorist with a gun or some crazy person could have just taken aim at Radio Row and wiped a ton of us out, and it would have been live on the radio and it would have been live on TV. No metal detectors. It's wide open for anybody who wants to come in. All right? It's crazy. I said that on day one. I didn't say it on the radio because I didn't want to let anybody know. The minute I sat down at 4:55 a.m. on Monday, I turned to the guy sitting next to me, Jason Martin, and I said, we might all get killed here. This is a terrorist dream attack. They would have had to cancel the Super Bowl. It would have been a live attack carried on hundreds of radio stations across the country. You'd be driving home or you'd be driving to lunch. Next thing you know, gunshots ring out and your favorite person on the radio is dead, right? Same thing I said. And look, this is me thinking about the worst case scenario. Usually I'm an optimistic guy. I sit on the sunny side of life. But I'm telling you right now, I also think about bad occasions. And so I used to say this all the time when I did local radio in Nashville. Some of you watch. Some of you used to listen when I did 3HL back in the day. I would get driven insane because we would get sent out to the middle of nowhere, Nashville surrounding communities, like 45 minutes outside of downtown Nashville, and we would do a broadcast from a gas station. All right? Literally sitting at a fold-up table in a damn gas station where anybody can walk in and just come right up to the table in the gas station. We broadcast our location, tell people to come by and say hi, and I would always say, we're going to get shot live on the air someday. Because all these guys are pulling in with pickup trucks with shotguns in the back window, and I'm thinking this is the worst decision that a radio station has ever made. We make very little money, and we got to do a remote here. Nobody would listen to me. We're lucky to have survived. They're still doing it. Makes no sense. As soon as something bad happens, you know what they'll do? They'll stop doing it. And then I will say, I told you this was going to happen years and years ago because I was already thinking of the worst case scenario. I am your guy. The Secret Service should hire me. I would be able to come in and I would tell you the disasters that you need to prepare for that haven't happened. Everybody, Naweeb Tassal or whatever his name was, he wrote a book called The Black Swan. Talked about it on the radio this morning. Most people prepare their eyes to see white swans, not to be racist, but most swans are white. Incredible bird privilege. Most swans are white. Every now and then, a black swan is born, not to be racist, but black swans are rare. And as a result, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe there's a black swan. A black swan event is one that occurs, there's no historical precedent for, and everybody panics. We're in a society now of black swans, right? And every time something unexpected happens, people are like, wow, how could we have ever foreseen that this might happen? I'll tell you, you get me on the damn phone and I will tell you the worst case scenario, one that you might not have thought of. And that was my biggest thought of Trump buying the hamburgers, was that the entire Clemson team could have died and Trump could have died just from eating a hamburger. And we need to avoid, spoiler alert, a King Joffrey-like situation in the White House, which is why I think we need to go back in time and have professional food tasters. If the Secret Service is prepared to take a bullet for the president, when they bring in food like this, you should have like 10 of the fattest Secret Service agents with the best overall digestive tract, and they should eat whatever is being brought in an hour before everybody else does. And if they die, you know not to eat the food. Boom, alarm goes off. And that way Clemson's football team doesn't die and Donald Trump doesn't die. Because you don't want everybody to die except for the people who eat the salads. Because if we were run by a country with only people who ate salads, we would be fucked. We would be done for. You can't allow a country to be run by salad eaters. That's a recipe for disaster. Boom. Next thing you know, we're Venezuela. All right? Can't have it happen. Got to have the meat eaters in charge. Got to have the carnivores in charge. Zero doubt. All right? Those were all my thoughts in general about Clemson visiting the White House and everybody getting triggered. All right, a couple of other big stories that are out there. I don't know about you guys. I'm not going to give this brand any credit or any legitimacy. But we got a woke razor situation going on right now. I don't know why every company has decided that they have to get woke. I don't understand why I can't just shave my damn face in peace and not be sitting there thinking about the patriarchy or about boys will be boys or about all the awful things that happen in the world. You know what I thought when I just shaved my neck? Thanks to Dollar Shave Club, which is an advertiser with Outkick, I thought, by God, I'm glad this razor works. And my God, I'm also glad that even though I'm almost 40 years old, I still have my youthful glow, vitality, and vigor. And everybody out there watching this right now wants to sleep with me. That's what I thought, as I think every time while I stand there with a razor in my face, I think to myself, man, it's hard to be sexier than you are right now, Clay Travis. I want to think about how sexy I am. I don't want to think about the patriarchy, all right? I want to be thinking in my head, you are pretty, you are so pretty. I don't want to be thinking, man, I wish that men were not everything that represent evil in this world. I wish that our entire sex was not so toxic. I'm making fun of this because it's so absurd. We don't want our products to be woke. We just want you to save the money that you spend trying to convince us that you were woke to make your product cheaper and more affordable. Do you know what I think when I stand with a razor in my hand? I hope this razor doesn't slice my chin and my face all up and I'm not bleeding like a stuck pig when I'm done. That's the only thing I legitimately think while I'm standing there with the razor. I hope I'm not going to be bleeding when I finish shaving, right? Work on your product working, not on telling me how to live my life. I got enough people telling me how to live my life all day. I got my wife, I got my 3 kids, I got the whole world. I just want to stand there in silence and contemplative brilliance and brush my teeth or shave my neck or poop and wipe my bottom. I don't want to think about what my toilet paper thinks about the status of indigenous people in Syria, all right? That's an important issue, but I don't care what my toilet paper thinks about it. I just want to poop, and then I want the toilet paper to get flushed and to have no issues with it. I don't need every product that I use all day long. When I'm spitting out my toothpaste, I don't want to be thinking, but what do they think about the Aborigines? I don't care. My assumption is they hope they brush their teeth too, and also that the Aborigines don't get cavities. Do your job, to quote Bill Belichick. That's all I need is for you to do your job. Don't try and get in a lane of something that you aren't involved in, all right? If you are a politician, sell me on politics. If you are a toothbrush, sell me on how great your toothbrush is. Don't tell me how to live my life. I don't need to be lectured anymore. There are plenty of people all day long telling me about toxic masculinity and mansplaining and all this other total BS that isn't the real world. Just make your razor not cut my face. Just work on your product. Instead of getting woke, save the money you're spending on wokeness and make your product better and cheaper. That's what I want when I buy a razor. That's what I want when I buy toothpaste. That's what I want when I buy toilet paper. I want the product to work. And I don't care what the people who make the product care about politics. I don't want to be standing in line buying toilet paper thinking, is this the Republican brand of toilet paper or the Democrat brand of toilet paper? I don't need any of that to happen. I just want a razor that works. I just want a toilet paper that works. I just want a tennis shoe that exists to make me enjoy athletics more. Everything doesn't have to be micro-targeted. I don't need to know who the juice is supporting in the Iowa Democratic primary. I don't need to know whether Kleenex is pro or con when it comes to federal election law being applied aggressively or leniently. I just want to blow my goddamn nose. Take this to heart. Don't bring politics into everything. Stay in your lane. Do your job, as Bill Belichick would say. I'm obviously fired up about this. If you're enjoying this, I don't yell as much in the book. I might yell as much on the audio. Republicans Buy Sneakers Too is my latest book. My name is Clay Travis. I've got to go do television now. I'm on the television here in, I'm on the television in 25 minutes on FS1. I'll be giving you gambling tips. I'm on Tennessee Big. I appreciate all of you. T. Martin, welcome back to Knoxville. You won a national championship 20 years ago for the Vols. Now let's take Tennessee back to solid status again. If you enjoy the show, share the show. We do this every day. Nothing is ever scripted. I sit down and talk for around a half hour and tell everybody exactly what I think. Kisses. My name is Clay Travis. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. This has been Outkick the Show. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Go watch me on television now. See y'all. Love you. Thank you. Facebook. See y'all.